Hello students, my name is Radhakrishna. I am working as senior lecturer in chemistry at Government Polytechnic College, Gadwal. Today let us discuss about a covalent bond, examples of covalent bond, how it is formed, let us say, and then we will go for the characteristics of covalent bond, and also thereafter let us say electronic concept of oxidation reduction, that is in a syllabus, and from there we will see the oxidation number, how to calculate the oxidation number, what are the rules governing, we will see example also. Okay. First let us go for the covalent bond. See, in the last classes we have discussed electronic theory of valency proposed by Kossel and Lewis. Electronic theory of valency. According to this theory, the atoms participate in chemical bonding to form compounds, and they do so to attain the nearest inert gas configuration, because inert gases except for helium all others have an octet in the outermost orbit, that is NH2 NP6 configuration, and they remain chemically inert and noble, unreactive and highly stable. So, all other elements also try to get this inert gas configuration, or NH2 NP6 configuration, either by mutual sharing of electron. By this can be done, this configuration can be attained either by transfer of electrons or by mutual sharing of electrons. In the last class also, itself we have seen that transfer of electrons leads to the formation of ionic bond. So, the sharing of electrons between the atoms concerned leads to the formation of a covalent bond. So, now let us discuss the covalent bond, which is found by the sharing of electrons between the atoms concerned. The formation of chemical bond by equal contribution and mutual sharing of electrons between two atoms is called as a covalent bond. Equal contribution and mutual sharing of electrons. Contribution may be equal, sometimes sharing may not be equal, we will come to that a little later, but both the atoms contribute equally number of electrons for the bond formation. Okay. So, the covalent bond is the bond that comes into existence by the sharing of electrons between the atoms concerned. Okay. Compounds containing covalent bonds are called covalent compounds. Yesterday we have seen, the last class we have seen that compounds formed by ionic bond, they are called as ionic compounds. So, here the compounds containing a covalent bond are called as covalent compounds. Okay. So, if each of the atom contributes one electron, imagine there is a bond between A and B. A contributes one electron and B contributes one electron. They share one pair of electron to form a bond. Okay. Likewise, if only one pair of electrons is shared between atoms, a single bond is formed between them. If two pairs of sharing electrons are shared, that means each of the bonding atom provides 2 electrons. Okay. So, A provides 2 electrons and B provides 2 electrons. So, in between them they have 4 electrons, they are sharing 4 electrons, or otherwise you can say that they are sharing 2 pairs of electrons. So, sharing of 2 pairs of electrons leads to the formation of a double bond. Likewise, sharing of 3 pairs of electrons forms a triple bond. Okay, forms a triple bond. If a covalent bond is formed between similar atoms, it is called non-polar covalent bond or homoatomic covalent bond. See, this bond can be formed between same atoms, identical atoms, similar atoms, or between different atoms. Okay, if it is formed between the same similar atoms or same atoms, okay, there will be shared equally, because both the contributing atoms are the same, identical. So it will be, bonding pair will be shared totally equally. So it will form a non-polar covalent bond. The bonding pair will be exactly equally shared between them here. If it were to be shared more by one atom and less by another atom, it leads to the polarity. Okay, we'll discuss that later. So if a bond is formed between similar atoms, it is called non-polar covalent bond or homoatomic covalent bond. Examples: H2, O2, N2, etc. Okay. If the covalent bond is formed between dissimilar atoms, means like HCl or NH3 or H2O, here bond is being formed between different atoms or dissimilar atoms. So here, depending upon the relative electronegativity of the atoms sharing the electron pair may be nearer to one atom and away from the another atom, or the pair may spend more time near nucleus of one atom and less time near the nucleus of another atom. Okay, this leads to polarity in the bond. Okay, polarity in the bond. So such covalent bonds which are formed between dissimilar atoms, they are called as polar covalent bond or heteroatomic covalent bond. Similar atoms homoatomic, different atoms heteroatomic. Here polarity occurs because of differential sharing of the bonding pair or pairs of electrons. Okay, we will come across when we discuss the heteroatomic covalent bond. The example, we will consider HCl, then we will discuss how it happens, what happens, what are the consequences thereof. All these things we will discuss there. Okay. Now let us go for the examples for single covalent bond. Okay, covalent bond, we say it can be two bond, double bond or triple bond, single bond, double bond, triple bond. Let's say examples for single covalent bond, two covalent bonds between two atoms and three covalent bonds between three atoms. Okay, let's consider the example of hydrogen. Formation of a hydrogen molecule H2. The electron configuration of hydrogen is its atomic number is 1. It's the starting element in the periodic table. You are all aware, right? So atomic number is 1. So it will have only one electron, right? Okay. So it has one electron. Its configuration is 1s1. It requires one more electron to get a stable configuration of helium. Helium is 1s2. Helium is one of the inert gases. Okay, it has got very stable configuration, 1s2. So for our hydrogen atom to get a 1s2 configuration and become stable, okay, it needs one more electron. Two hydrogen atoms share their single electrons to form a single bond. Two hydrogen atoms come together, each of them share their single electrons to share that pair. Once the bonding pair will be shared by both the atoms simultaneously. Okay, and equally also here. Formation of a hydrogen molecule by dot method. Lewis dot method we call this as. In the Lewis dot method, what we do is we show electrons as dots, electrons of one of the participating atoms as dot, and the electron of the other participating atom as a cross. Actually, electrons are identical in any atom. You take across all the atoms, all the molecules, there will not be any sort of differentiation between electrons. Electrons are all the same, identical. But since we are discussing the formation of chemical bond here, to differentiate the electrons of different atoms, we are taking recourse to this method. We are trying to explain things by this method. So, here this is explained as by the Lewis dot method, which seeks to represent electron of one of the participating bonding atoms with a dot and electron of other participating atom as a cross, so that we can differentiate between the two. Okay. So, this is what happens. So, here one you can see obviously one electron of one hydrogen atom is represented as dot, electron of another hydrogen atom is represented as a cross. Okay, you can obviously see. So, they come together, a dot and a cross. Actually, they are here. Actually, they will be between two hydrogen atoms. Okay, between two hydrogen atoms. Between two hydrogen atoms, one dot and one cross will be there. It's wrongly printed here. I am sorry about it. Okay, or it can also be shown as HH single bond, hydrogen to hydrogen single bond. So, two hydrogen atoms are together, okay, to H2 molecule. In the molecule, you will get both the hydrogen atoms will get 1s2 configuration, 1s2, because bonding pair of electrons is shared by both the hydrogen atoms. So, you will get a 1s2 configuration here. Okay, two 1s1 combined together to give rise to 1s2 configuration in the hydrogen molecule. It's something like a family living in a house. Everybody says it is our house. Okay, not any, it doesn't belong to any individual of the family. Everybody says outside it is our house is there, situated there. Likewise, once they form a bond, the bonding pair belongs to both the atoms simultaneously all the time. Okay, so both of them will get nearest, both the atoms will get nearest helium configuration, and they become stable. Energy is released during this formation. Okay, and they become stable. Next we will see oxygen molecule formation of formation of hydrogen molecule by dot method. It is shown again. Okay, one atom is shown, electron of one of the hydrogen atoms is shown as a dot, the electron of the other hydrogen atom is shown as a cross. Okay, this is called Lewis dot method to differentiate between the electrons of different participating atoms. But actually, originally, there is no differentiation between the electrons. Okay. Now we will go for the oxygen atom. Formation of oxygen molecule. In the oxygen molecule, there is a double bond. Okay. The atomic number of oxygen is 8. That means in the neutral oxygen atom, there are 8 electrons. Okay. The electron configuration of oxygen is 1s2, 2s2, 2px2, 2py1, 2pz1. Second orbit is the outermost orbit here in the case of oxygen. First orbit is the inner orbit and second orbit is the outermost orbit. If you can count, you have 2 plus 2, 4 plus 1, 5 plus 1, 6. There are 6 electrons in the outermost orbit of the oxygen. Okay. So, the nearest inert gas to oxygen is neon. Neon configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2px2, 2py2, 2pz2. Okay. So, it is 2s2, 2p6. Oxygen is short of 2 electrons. It is short of 2 electrons, or it needs 2 more electrons to get a stable neon configuration. Okay. So, the 2 oxygen atoms contribute 2 electrons each. Each oxygen contributes 2 electrons each. So, two pairs of electrons will be shared between the two oxygen atoms in the oxygen molecule. Okay. So, this results in the formation of a double bond. If one pair is shared, one bonding pair is shared, a single bond is formed. If two bonding pairs are shared, a double bond is formed. It's quite obvious. Okay. Let us see how it happens. Formation of oxygen molecule by Lewis dot method. You can obviously see here the electron configuration in the outermost orbit, that is second orbit, is shown. Valence orbit, they are called as electrons present in the outermost orbit are called as valence electrons. Here we are showing the valence electrons. In one oxygen atom, on the top and bottom, lone pair of electrons 2s2 2px2, they don't participate in the bonding, so they are called as lone pair of electrons. This concept of lone pair of electrons is extremely important in understand acid base behavior, especially Lewis acid base theory. We will come to that a little later in the next chapter. For now, you remember the electron pair which is present in the outermost orbit but will not actively participate in the chemical reactions, will not be shared usually, that is called as a lone pair of electrons. Okay. So, in contrast to this lone pairs of electrons, you have got two single electrons. We are seen in the electron configuration, we wrote in the electron configuration we have seen this. Okay. 2px1 and 2py1. In one oxygen atom, they are shown as dots according to Lewis dot theory for the sake of understanding. Okay. In the other atom, they are shown as crosses. Okay. So, they will share, each oxygen atom shares two pairs of electrons. So, in all, between two oxygen atoms, two pairs, bonding pairs of electrons are shared. So, a double bond is formed. Okay. A double bond is formed in the oxygen molecule. In the O2 molecule, you have a O double bond O, O double bond O. Okay. That is the formation of oxygen molecule. Okay. Next, formation of nitrogen molecule. As I told you, we will see one example each for single bond, one double bond and triple bond. So far we have seen single bond formation in the hydrogen molecule, double bond formation in the oxygen molecule, and now we will see the triple bond formation in the nitrogen molecule. The atomic number of nitrogen is 7. What is atomic number? How do you define it? It is the number of protons present in the nucleus of an atom. Okay. Numerically, it is equivalent to number of electrons present in the neutral atom. So, atomic number also represents the number of electrons. Okay. So, atomic number of nitrogen is 7. The electronic configuration of nitrogen is 1s2, 2s2, 2px1, 2py1, 2pz1. Why not 2px2 and 2py1? Why can't you pair? According to Hund's rule, it is not possible. It is incorrect. Okay. Only Hund's rule states that only all the orbitals of a sublevel are filled with a single electron each, then only pairing occurs. Okay. So, in all you have got 5 electrons in the second orbit of nitrogen. Okay. Its nearest inert gas is helium, neon. Nearest inert gas to the nitrogen is neon. So, to get neon's configuration, a nitrogen atom needs 3 more electrons. Actually, neon configuration is 2s2, 2p6. Here in the nitrogen, it is only 2s2, 2p3. 3 more electrons it requires to attain neon configuration. So, that is what we have written here. The number of electrons required to get stable configuration of neon is 3. Thus, 2 nitrogen atoms contribute 3 electrons each for mutual sharing. This results in the formation of a triple bond between 2 nitrogen atoms. So, here there are 3 unpaired electrons. Okay. 3 unpaired electrons and they participate in the all the 3 will participate in the chemical bonding in the formation of a nitrogen molecule, and so 3 electron pairs are shared between 2 nitrogen atoms in the formation of a nitrogen molecule. So, since 3 pairs are shared, it will be a triple bond between them. Okay, it will be a triple bond between them. Okay, let us see how it happens. Okay, by Lewis dot method. As you mentioned earlier, in the Lewis dot method, one will be shown as electrons of one of the nitrogen atoms is shown as shown with the dots. The other electrons of other nitrogen atom will be shown with the crosses. Here, that is what we have shown. Here in the nitrogen electronic configuration, you have got 2s2, a lone pair of electrons in the 2s2 orbital. Okay, this 2s2, because of this lone pair, nitrogen acts as a Lewis base, and in our organic chemistry, in our body chemistry, nitrogen is the most important base. In all the amino acids, nitrogen acts as base. In all the protein formation, nitrogen acts as the base because of that lone pair. That lone pair is the one of the reasons for the survival of life on earth. Okay. Okay. So, here each nitrogen atom, on each nitrogen atom there are 3 unpaired electrons. It shares with those of another nitrogen atom, 3 electrons of another nitrogen atom. So, in between 2 nitrogen atoms, 3 bonding pairs or 6 electrons are shared. Since the 3 bonding pairs are shared, N triple bond N is formed, N triple bond N. See, single bond is relatively easier to break than a double bond. Double bond is still relatively more easier to break than a triple bond. Triple bond is most difficult to break. It is very strong. Since nitrogen has in the nitrogen molecule there is a triple bond between nitrogen atoms. Okay, it tends to remain unreactive. It has got a neon configuration. It is highly stable. It tends to remain unreactive. So, even in the atmosphere, nearly 78%, 79% is nitrogen itself in the air we breathe. Okay. Still, plants cannot make use of this nitrogen, even though so much nitrogen is available around. Plants cannot make use of this nitrogen because due to the presence of this triple bond in the nitrogen molecule, it is very difficult to break this bond and make nitrogen atoms available. Okay. So, even though so much of nitrogen is available around in the air, we have to supply nitrogenous fertilizers to the plants. Okay. So, we have seen so far the definition of covalent bond. Okay. That is the bond comes into existence by the mutual sharing of electrons between the atoms concerned, equal contribution in mutual sharing. Okay. It is mainly mutual sharing, not equal sharing, not always equal sharing. Okay. So, so far we have seen 3 examples for single bond formation in the case of hydrogen molecule, double bond formation in the case of oxygen molecule, triple bond formation in the case of nitrogen molecule. All these are homoatomic molecules or bonds formed between similar atoms. Okay. Here there will not be any polarity. The bonding pairs will be shared equally among them. Okay. Okay. Next we will move on to the bond for heteroatomic molecule, hydrogen chloride. Okay. Now, to improve our understanding, let us take a quiz. Yesterday we have taken this quiz, I believe. Okay. Which of the following compounds is soluble in water? MgO is ionic compound, NaCl is ionic compound, KCl is also ionic compound. In the discussion of characteristics of ionic compounds, we have learned that ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvents like water. So, here the magnesium oxide, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, all these are being ionic compounds, all of them are soluble in the water. The answer is D, all of the above. Okay. Ionic compounds are good conductors of electricity because it is a recall of last lecture. Okay. Good conductors of electricity because is it because they are soluble in water, or ions carry electricity, or because they are weak, or they are insoluble in water? Actually, ions are charged species and they carry electricity from one electrode to another electrode. So, the reason is ions carry electricity. They are soluble in water, that is correct, but that is not the answer to the question. Okay. Covalent bond formation. Covalent bond is formed between a metal and a non-metal, metals, non-metals, none of the above. See, we have discussed a metal is electropositive, non-metal is electronegative. So, between electropositive and electronegative elements, ionic bonds are formed. Metals themselves are electropositive in nature, and in the metallic lattice, a metallic bond is formed, not a covalent bond. Okay. Between non-metals, the examples so far, 3 examples we have considered, right? Oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, they are all non-metals. So, you can obviously say that covalent bond is formed between non-metals. That is C answer is correct. Okay. The following molecules contains, which of the following molecules contain a triple bond? We have just discussed. Okay. Obviously, that is nitrogen. In fluorine, only single electron is single pair is shared in F2 molecule. So, single bond. In oxygen, it is a double bond. In hydrogen, it is again a single bond. In the nitrogen, it is a triple bond. Just recalling what we have learned so far. Okay. Okay. From this chapter, in your examination, frequently asked questions are: write any 4 important characteristics of ionic compounds, define covalent bond, explain the formation, bond formation in oxygen and nitrogen molecules. Okay. In the covalent bond formation, you have to write the electron configuration and show number of unpaired electrons, and by Lewis dot method, electrons of one atom must be expressed as shown as dots, electrons of the other atom must be shown as crosses, and you have to show the number of in the case of oxygen 2 bonding pairs are sharing of 2 bonding pairs. In the case of nitrogen molecule, sharing of 3 bonding pairs you have to show. Okay. Okay. Formation of hydrogen chloride. See, in the covalent bond formation, so far we have discussed the formation of homoatomic molecules. Now, let us deal with the formation of heteroatomic molecule. Heteroatomic molecule, that is to bond between 2 different atoms. Okay. Let us say, consider the example of hydrogen chloride, HCl. Consider the example of hydrogen chloride. Okay. Atomic number of hydrogen is 1. Its electronic configuration is 1s1, only single electron is there. The number of electrons required to hit stable configuration is 1 more. It needs 1 more electron to get nearest inert gas, that is helium's configuration. That configuration is 1s2, obviously. Then it is a bond formation between hydrogen and chlorine, right? We have seen the configuration of hydrogen. Let us go see the configuration of chlorine as well. Now, the atomic number of chlorine is how much? It is 17. Its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p5. Its outermost orbit is third orbit. There are 3s2, 2 plus 5, 3p5, 5. 2 plus 5, 7 electrons present in the outermost orbit of the chlorine, valence shell of the chlorine. How many more electrons does it need? to get nearest inert gas argon configuration. Organic configuration is 3s2 3p6. Our chlorine is just 1 electron short of the required argon configuration. So, the number of electrons required to get a stable configuration of argon is just 1. So, hydrogen atom needs 1 electron and chlorine also needs just 1 electron. So, both of them will share or pair up their unpaired electrons. Okay. Thus, both atoms contribute 1 electron each for the process of mutual sharing. Okay. They contribute 1 electron each and share it equally, they share it between them. The bonding pair of electrons will be shared between them. Okay. So, the process of mutual sharing results covalent bond between hydrogen and chlorine. Let us see the formation by Lewis dot method. Hydrogen single electron, okay. Chlorine by cross, chlorine is shown by cross, hydrogen electron is shown by dot. Okay. You can see one bonding pair, one dot and one X shared between chlorine and hydrogen. See, in the computer it could not be figured properly, but it is H single bond Cl. Okay, a single bond is formed between the hydrogen and chlorine. Okay, before going to the characteristics of covalent compounds, okay, this formation of a hydrogen bond between in the hydrogen chloride, okay, both hydrogen as well as chlorine contributed 1 electron each. The bonding pair is shared between hydrogen and chlorine. But if we can see the electronegativities of hydrogen and chlorine, the electronegativity of hydrogen is less, around 2.1, and that of chlorine is high, around 3.5. Okay. Electronegativity means the power to attract the bonding pair of electrons towards itself. So, the more is electronegativity, the more power, with more is the power with which bonding pair of electrons is attracted towards this. So, here in the case of HCl molecule, covalent molecule, okay, the bonding pair of electrons will be nearer to the chlorine and a bit away from the hydrogen. Okay. So, now the situation is chlorine is having one extra electron nearer to it or one more negative charge nearer to it, okay, and hydrogen has its own negative charge drawn away from it. So, what happens is okay, chlorine develops a partial negative charge over it in the hydrogen chloride molecule, and hydrogen develops a partial positive charge. When the electron is transferred from one atom to another, from sodium to chlorine, chlorine develops full-fledged negative charge, sodium develops a full-fledged positive charge. In the case of ionic compounds, they are ions. Here there is no complete transfer, but it is shared more by chlorine, bonding pair is shared more by chlorine and less by hydrogen. Okay. So, hydrogen develops a partial positive charge and chlorine develops a partial negative charge. Okay. This leads to the formation of a hydrogen molecule and its consequent effects. Okay. This is a heteroatomic molecule. Okay. Heteroatomic molecule. Okay. So, such problems arise, such a situation arises here. There will not be equal sharing of a bonding pair, but unequal sharing. Because of unequal sharing, polarity develops. So, heteropolar band this is. Earlier 3 molecules we discussed, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, homopolar molecules. This is a heteropolar molecule. Okay. Now, let us discuss the characteristics of covalent compounds. Okay. Characteristics of covalent compounds. Say, in the case of ionic compounds, we have seen they are highly crystalline solids with high melting and boiling points. Whereas, in the case of covalent compounds, each molecule exists for itself without any relation to, without much relationship with other molecules. Okay, the bonding is within the molecule or intramolecular bonding occurs there here. Okay, so between different molecules they are held by very weak van der Waals forces, very weak van der Waals forces. So because of that intermolecular forces are very weak, so they exist as gases and liquids. Even if it were to be a solid, it is very low melting solid, but most of them they exist as gases and liquids because of extremely weak bonding between different molecules. Okay, and because of this only they have got very low melting and boiling points. Okay, and these are highly soluble in non-polar solvents like benzene, toluene, soluble in non-polar solvents and insoluble in polar solvents like water. All these points are in sharp contrast to the characteristics of ionic compounds. Okay, just a sharp contrast. If you learn one thing, the other you can write the opposite characteristic. That's it. It's as simple as that. And as a short notes, most commonly question is differentiate between ionic and covalent compounds. That is most commonly asked. One of the pet questions of the examiners from this topic chapter. Okay. The melting and boiling point of covalent compounds are low. They are non-electrolytes. Melting point, boiling points are low. There are not non-electrolytes. Melting points, yeah, we have discussed. They are non-electrolytes. Non-electrolyte means they are non-conductors, either in a fused state or normally they are bad conductors. And covalent bond is a directional bond. You can actually see in which direction between two internuclear axes. Okay, the bond will be spread overlapped. It is formed by overlap of atomic orbitals. So it is a directional bond. Whenever you have a directional bond in the molecules, compounds, they exhibit isomerism. Okay, the reactions of covalent compounds are generally slow, molecular in nature. They are generally slow. Okay, these are some of the characteristics of covalent compounds. Now we will go for, let us see a few defects in the electron dot model, and let us see what valence bond theory states about that. Okay, removes these defects. The electron dot model could not explain the strength of the covalent bond. It could not explain the shapes of the molecules and bond angles, etc. Electron dot model. Okay, this gave rise to the proposition of valence bond theory. Valence bond theory is one of the advanced theories to explain the chemical bond. Okay, according to the valence bond theory, a covalent bond is formed by overlapping of atoms, orbitals. Okay, by overlapping of single electron orbitals of two atoms. As I just mentioned, it is formed by the linear overlapping of linear combination of LCA, they call it as linear combination of atomic orbitals. That's formed. Covalent bond is formed. The strength of the covalent bond is directly proportional to the extent of overlapping of orbitals. Okay, extent of overlapping of orbitals. The bond formed by axial or end to end or end on end. Okay, overlapping of orbitals. The bond formed by axial or end on end overlapping of orbitals is called as a sigma bond. Sigma bond is very strong. It is formed between the internuclear axis. Okay, along the internuclear axis, not just between, along the internuclear axis between the bonding atoms. The bond formed by lateral overlap or sideways overlap, it is also called as the bond formed by lateral or sideways overlapping of orbitals is called as pi bond. A sigma bond is far stronger than a pi bond. If there is a double bond, one bond will be sigma bond, the other two will be pi bond, the other will be pi bond. In the nitrogen atom, there is a triple bond between nitrogen atoms in nitrogen molecule. Okay. One bond will be sigma bond, the other two will be pi bonds in the N triple bond N. Okay. All single bonds are sigma bonds according to theory. All single bonds are sigma bonds. Double bond contains one sigma bond and one pi bond. Example, your oxygen molecule. In the oxygen molecule, you have got a double bond. One of the bonds is sigma and the other is a pi bond. The triple bond contains one sigma bond and two pi bonds. Okay. Nitrogen molecule, one sigma and two pi, I just mentioned. Valence bond theory, the drawbacks of valence bond theory are, valence bond theory also could not explain the shape, bond characteristics of shape and bond characteristics of polyatomic molecules. Okay. This is made good by the defects of valence bond theory is rectified by hybridization, which explains the shape, bonding characteristics of polyatomic molecules. Okay. Now, let us go for the next topic, oxidation and reduction. At the end of this topic, students will be, two topics will cover here, oxidation and reduction and how to calculate the oxidation numbers of elements. These two will discuss now. Okay. First, let us go for oxidation. Actually, you have got only electronic concept of oxidation, the example that I gave you, but oxidation may be defined as loss of electrons. In addition to that, you can also say loss of hydrogen, gain of oxygen. In a broader sense, you can define oxidation as okay, loss of electropositive element and gain of electronegative element, generalizing. Or you can say that simply oxidation as loss of electrons. In your syllabus, you have only electronic concept, that is loss of electrons. Okay. Na gives Na plus plus electron minus. Sodium is losing an electron and you say that it is undergoing oxidation. Okay. Reduction. Reduction may be defined as gain of electrons or loss of oxygen or gain of hydrogen. Broadly, you can say that reduction is loss of electronegative element and gain of electropositive element. Since you have only electronic concept of oxidation reduction, reduction you can define as gain of electrons. Okay. Two chlorine atoms pick up two electrons to turn into 2 Cl minus. Cl2 picks up chlorine gas, Cl2 picks up 2 electrons and turn into 2 Cl minus. Here it is gain of electrons. Okay. Gain of electrons. So, it is a reduction. Loss of electron is oxidation, gain of electrons is reduction. Okay. You can remember one slogan sort of thing, so that you will not get confused. Most of the students I have seen, they get confused. Whenever I ask in the class, they say that loss of electrons is reduction, gain of electrons is oxidation, something like that. They get always confused. Okay. I will give you a simple slogan so that you can remember. Oil rig. Oil is carried on high seas by rigs. Okay. Oil rig. OIL, oil. Another word, RIG, rig. Oil rig. If you remember this, you will not commit mistake. OIL stands for here. Oxidation is loss. Loss of what? Electron, obviously. Rig. Reduction is gain. OIL, oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. Oil rig, if you remember, you will not get confused. Okay. Let us see an example of a redox reaction. Reduction is by gain of electrons. Cu2 plus plus Mg gives Cu plus. Say redox reaction is a reaction where both simultaneously both oxidation and reduction takes place. Both can be shown. Actually, oxidation and reduction we are showing different equations. but they occur only simultaneously. When one species loses an electron, the other species gains it. Okay. Here you can see Cu2 plus Mg gives Cu plus Mg2 plus. Cu2 plus is turning from Cu2 plus to Cu. So, positive charge is getting neutralized by picking off a pair of electrons. So, copper is undergoing a reduction. Okay. Magnesium is turning from Mg to Mg2 plus. Okay. This is it is losing a pair of electrons. It is oxidation by loss of electrons. Okay. That is the redox reaction. Now, we will go for the oxidation number and the calculation rules governing it. Okay. Oxidation number may be defined as the charge that is actually present or assumed to be present on an atom in a chemical species. If you take NH3 ammonia, we assume that there is some charge present on the nitrogen atom. Okay, we assume that there is some charge present on the nitrogen atom. Okay, it may be actually present or assumed to be present. That charge that is present on the nitrogen atom in ammonia molecule, for instance, is called as the oxidation number of nitrogen. Okay. To calculate this oxidation number, we follow a few rules, okay, a few conventions. Based on these conventions, we calculate these oxidation numbers. Okay, it is a very useful concept. Okay, it is a very useful concept. Okay, rules for calculation of oxidation number. We follow the following rules to calculate the oxidation number of element. Okay, first is the oxidation number of a free element is always 0. A free element Cl2 is 0, H2 is 0, helium is 0. Okay, free element is 0. The oxidation number of monoatomic ion equals the charge of that ion. Cl minus oxidation number is -1, O minus 2 oxidation number is -2. So, the oxidation number of a monoatomic ion equals to the charge on the ion. Okay, it is equal to charge of the ion itself. The oxidation number if hydrogen is H plus, but in metal hydrides it is -1, but usually we take it as for practical purposes. Metal hydrides are very rare to come across, so we will take it as hydrogen oxidation number as +1. It is -1 in the metal hydrides. Okay. The oxidation number of oxygen is normally taken as -2, but it is -1 in peroxides like H2O2, Na2O2, where OO bond is linkage is there, it is -1, but usually we take commonly we take the oxidation number of oxygen as -2. Then the oxidation number of group 1 elements, sodium, potassium, rubidium, all those is +1. The oxidation number of group 2 elements, beryllium, magnesium, calcium, all those they are taken as +2. The oxidation number of group 17 elements in a binary compound is -1. The sum of oxidation numbers of all the atoms in a neutral compound, this is most important. Sum of oxidation numbers of all the atoms in a neutral compound is equal to 0. For example, overall charge in on the nitrogen molecule is equal to 0. Overall charge in the chromium chloride is equal to 0, like that. The sum of oxidation numbers in a polyatomic ion equal to the charge of the ion. For example, sum of the oxidation numbers in a polyatomic ion, CO3 minus carbonate ion is there, CO3 minus 2. The overall charge on this ion is equal to -2. Okay, that is it. Okay, that is the. Let us see one example for the. Let us see an example for the calculation of oxidation number. Okay, calculation of oxidation number. Let us see one example. An example here. Oxidation calculation of oxidation number of chromium in CrCl3. See, the CrCl3 is a neutral atom. CrCl3 is a neutral atom. Okay, so overall charge on it is 0. And since we are trying out to find out the oxidation number of chromium, the oxidation number of chromium in CrCl3. Okay, so we take it as X. let us consider the oxidation number of chromium is X. The oxidation number of chlorine is -1 obviously. Okay. The overall oxidation number of ClCl3 is total oxidation number is equal to 0. We already discussed that the overall oxidation number of a neutral atom is equal to 0. Okay. So, the calculation is the oxidation number of chromium, that is X, plus how many chlorides, chlorine atoms we have? 3. 3 into -1, each chlorine is -1. Okay. X plus 3 into -1 is equal to 0. X minus 3 is equal to 0, that brings us to x minus 3 is equal to 0. By sending the -3 that side, x becomes +3, x is equal to +3. The oxidation number of chromium in CrCl3 is +3. Oxidation number of chromium in CrCl3 is +3. This is how we calculate the oxidation number. Okay. And let us see the oxidation numbers of a few examples. In carbon dioxide, carbon is +4, each oxygen is -2. Okay. CO, carbon +2, oxygen -2. Carbon is element, it is 0. Likewise, in methane, carbon is -4, H2 0, Cl2 0, HCl, H +1, Cl -1, NaCl, Na +1, Cl -1, KMnO4, K is +1, oxygen is 4 oxygens -8, okay. Mn is +7. You can actually sit and calculate this, very easy. Okay. You can find out the oxidation number of the central atom like Mn in KMnO4 and carbon carbon in methane, like that you can calculate. Okay. That's the end of this lecture. Thank you very much. Okay.